Hi, this is Tedessa. Welcome to complete course in calculus. So in this tutorial, I'll talk about what exactly is calculus. What is the difference between pre-calculus and calculus? Well, what are the things which we can uh, do with pre-calculus, and what are the things which we cannot do with pre-calculus? So the first question is, what exactly is calculus? So calculus is nothing but the mathematics of change. So calculus is mathematics of change. So unlike pre-calculus, which is what we call it static, pre-calculus is more of dynamic. Let me give you an example. If I have, let's say, a function here, y equal to f of x. Now, if I ask you to find the value of the function at c, this is defined. So you can just simply find y to be the value of the function at c. I can do that with pre-calculus. What if I ask you, what is, this is y equal to f of x. Now, as you can see, at x equal to c, this function is not defined. So we cannot talk about f of c now because it's not defined. So the question becomes what? What will be the limit of, what is the limit of f of x? What is the limit of f of x as x approaches c? So what happens when you approach c? What is happening to the y value? That is what calculus is. Another example will be, just let's say you have a straight line. Now this straight line passes through the point, let's say x1, y1, and x2, y2. So we know that the slope of that line is given by the change in y divided by change in x. So what is change in y means? If you draw a horizontal line and vertical line, so this is what we call it, the change in y. So the change in y is nothing but y2 minus y1 divided by the change in x, means this is what we call it, change in x, change in y. So this is x2 minus x1. So we know this is nothing but the rise over run, or we call it horizontal change divided by vertical change, sorry. So that should be, that is nothing but vertical change divided by horizontal change. So you can see here, if it is a line, I can find the slope of the line. Now the question is, what if I ask you to find the slope of this curve? How do you find the slope of the curve? That is not possible with pre-calculus. But with calculus, I can find that slope m becomes what? If this is y equal to f of x, the slope becomes what? The derivative at this point. Let's say this is c, the derivative at c. So there are so many notions that we can answer with calculus, but not with pre-calculus. Another simple example is, if you ask me, for example, what is the area of this rectangle? This is length, width. So what is the area? Length times width. Now, what if I ask you, let's say I have a curve here, y equal to f of x, and then you have b here, a here. How do you find the area of this shaded region, or we call it area under a curve? The answer is this is not possible with pre-calculus, but we can answer that with calculus. So what exactly is then calculus? The answer is calculus is nothing but pre-calculus, and then we add what is called the limit process. So we need to understand what exactly is limit. So if you know limit, then with the knowledge of pre-calculus, it will be calculus. So for this complete course in calculus, basically we'll be answering two questions. The first question is, let's say you have a curve. This is y equal to f of x. Now, if you draw a line which cuts this line at 2 points, x1, y1, and x2, y2, this is what we call it secant line. Sekar means cut. Sekar means cut. This line is cutting the graph of y equal to f of x. Now, how do you find the slope of this secant line? M-sec, which stands for the slope of the secant line. This is y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. But what is y2? That is f of x2 minus f of x1 divided by x2 minus x1. This is what we call it the difference quotient. The difference quotient. It's a difference and it's a quotient. Difference quotient. Now look at what happens. If I add, instead of, now you see here the change, this is what we call it the change in x. Now instead of that line, if I do another line, something like this, now you see this is what we call it x3, y3. Now what is happening to delta x? If I keep doing that, x4, y4. Now if you keep doing that, what happens is change in x is what? Getting smaller, sufficiently close to 0. So what? So that line now becomes what? What we call it? Tangent line. So this is the first question we'll be answering in a complete course in calculus. So what will be the slope of this tangent line? How do I find the slope of this tangent line? That is the first question. The second question is, I mentioned it earlier, if I have a curve, any curve, y equal to f of x, and then if you are given 2 points A and B, let's say this is a continuous function. Now, how do you find the area of this shaded region or area under a curve? So for that, we use what is called integral. And for the previous case here, we use what is called differentiation or derivative. So these are basically the two questions that we'll be answering in a complete course in calculus. Thank you for listening. I'll see you in the next video.